It's Heroes for Sale. It is episode 56. Riccardo with you again, and of course, Commander Coulson. Commander Coulson, of course, third degree. Sue Coulson, how are you, mate?
I'm good. How you doing?
Yeah, good. The stars look good on the lapels of your jacket there. I think you're pulling it off well.
Yeah.
We've got a bunch of books to do today, and quite different. A couple of old favourites and a couple of quite new, or I would say, independents that have poked their way through. And man, I love the Miranda Brothers and what they've done with We Live. That is going to be our. What do you mean you haven't read this? But
Yeah.
we'll get to that a bit later. But a few old faves poking their head up from DC as well, Sue.
Yeah, well, they're doing the whole, Dawn of DC, so there's a whole lot of new number ones coming out. Yeah, we're going to do Batman and Robin. So Joshua Williamson, who's written this, so iconic now at DC, he had the longest run on Flash, spinning out of the DC Rebirth initiative, and he was the architect of Death Metal, and Infinite Frontiers. So Death Metal's been. Did you read that?
No, I didn't. I to be honest, I've read individual, like, sort of 5-run, 6-run Batman stories, but I haven't really read any of the continuity stuff.
Yeah, Death Metal, it was really gruesome and gritty, and it's been really, really popular. So he's kind of bringing to Batman and Robin quite a pedigree, and it was an interesting read. What did you think of it?
To be honest, Sue, like, because I saw Josh Williamson's name on this, and I know some of the stuff he's done. And what you've said about Death Metal, it sounds exactly like something I should read. So it might be something I have to revisit. But I know this is book one. I wasn't overly enamored with it. The art didn't really grab me. I thought it was okay, but it wasn't brilliant. Robin, I thought, was a bit unlikable, and Batman was a bit weak. So I kind of got to the end of it and went, I'm not really invested in your Batman and Robin.
Yeah, so it's Damien being his little punk Damien that he is, but they've softened him, and they're doing this father-son story. That's basically what it is, and it's taken place after the events of Night Terrors. So, but Batman and Catwoman are doing their whole Gotham War thing at the same time in the DC universe, and Catwoman's installing her brand of controlling the villains, robbing from the rich, not the poor, no stabbings in the, and it's kind of Batman's wrestling with things in there. And that story running is really gritty and really delving into that whole underbelly of Gotham. So it was a bit weird reading this Batman and Robin number one and having a father-son story coming out. And I don't know if it was because I read it just after reading Gotham War that it didn't really sit with me as much as I thought it was going to.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Damian Wayne, that I've come across before in books and TV shows or whatever, has been more of a prick. And I probably would have been more invested in that, but I kind of just found it a bit wishy-washy.
Yeah, I mean, Damien's hiding behind the mask in this. He's trying not to have the relationship with the dad. He's an awkward teenager, is how it came across to me. And then you've got Bruce Wayne, to me. Okay, so if you have an actor playing Bruce and Batman, he has to be the gritty hero on the streets, upholding, all his moral and ethical beliefs. But the Bruce Wayne has to be the powerful billionaire in control of everything, answering to no one and sure of his every move. That's how I feel about Batman. And I think for me in this, they may have taken the unsure new to parenting aspect a little bit too far. He stands outside Damien's door at one stage, and he's speaking to the ghost of Alfred, saying, "How did you do it?" And there's the pause before he even knocks on the door to speak to Damien. Like, it just felt a little bit weak.
You know what it felt like? It felt like Josh Williamson was writing Batman like you would write Superman.
Oh, don't give her on Superman. He's amazing.
Well, no, but in terms of, Bruce Wayne / Batman that we know is a hard ass, right? And takes no shit from anybody. This feels much more like what Kel would do in the same situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's a bit more touchy-feely, a bit softer, and a bit more, yeah.
I didn't dislike it. I just felt like it was a weird, at this stage, with what they've done with Dawn of DC and what they're doing in all the other storylines, this was just a double back on, in Night Terrors, I think we talked about this, they finally showed Batman in control of his own mind while his mind was being attacked. So all the things that we'd learned about Batman and he was supposed to have, he actually displayed in Night Terrors. And in this one, it's like they just stripped it all away again.
Well, maybe, I mean, and taking a step back and looking at this from a business standpoint, if you're DC and you go, well, we've just finished Night Terrors, it was pretty dark, it's pretty scary. We've got Gotham out there, it's gritty and it's a bit more violent. We need something for the PG audience. And maybe that's where this has gone.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with the PG audience or, PG stories, but that's kind of what, you know what I mean? Like, it's that comparison.
Yeah. The art didn't grip me as much either. Do you know what it is? It's like a young adult art style that they've put on Titans and Raven and Beast Boy. That it kind of felt a little bit like that, but then the colouring was darker.
Yeah, I mean, there's a picture, and as we often say, it's not always good talking about pictures on an audio medium, but there's a big splash page early on there, and that to me, build, like Batman doesn't look big enough. Like, he doesn't look buff enough. He doesn't.
No, they've made Robin bigger, and they've put the angle and the accent on him. So maybe we're reading this wrong. Maybe this is supposed to be young adult. Having said that, it wasn't a young kid's story. It had enough to keep me interested. It had enough to keep me going, but it was a shock because it was such a turn away from everything else that's been going on.
Like I said, when I take a step back, maybe from a business point of view, this is what they need. You have so many Batman properties out there and they feel like they've covered the adult market. They're looking for somebody that, watches the Flash and Supergirl CW shows and they want something for them. And that's where this is aimed, maybe.
Yeah, it was an interesting one.
Although I do love the cover. I know I've got one of the variant covers. I think that artwork is brilliant. That artwork is great. Love that.
It's art germ, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is art germ. Yeah, no, fantastic on that front. So, I mean, if you're a Batman fan and you're a collector, I mean, you're probably going to want to investigate it, want to have a look. Don't let us put you off.
No, I'm not put off by it. I enjoyed it, and I think that there is space for it in the Batman evolution of who he is, and I will be picking up the second issue. There's enough in that with the new villains and everything, and the way and the way they're looking at the relationship between Damian and Batman. I think it will go somewhere. I think it was just a shock that it was that angsty after what had been going on in DC. But I'm definitely going to get the second issue on this one.
There you go. So that is DC Batman and Robin issue number 1. That is a new run. Josh Williamson is writing that one. Let's move on to this one then. Something quite different from Boom Studios, written by Ram V and drawn by Philippe Andrade. It is. I found this quite an interesting take actually, because this Rare Flavours, Sue. We've had Norse gods before and we've had everything else, but this is kind of the Indian gods, right? This is the Hindu gods. This is where this is going. And not a lot of action in the first issue, but there is certainly a lot of dialogue and it is setting things up almost a bit like, in Tarantino movies, often the opening scene is about 30 minutes of dialogue and it just builds. That felt a bit like what Rare Flavours did with issue 1.
Yeah, so Ram V is absolutely gorgeous. I love him to bits. Stu and I have met him at retailer get-togethers. He wrote Many Deaths of Layla Starr, which, did you read that?
No, I haven't read that.
Oh, it was with Philippe Andrade as well as the artist, and I just think these two are a team up that I will buy anything they do. And Many Deaths of Layla Starr, it was just beautiful. The topic was a suicide, and she left her body, and she then flew over and saw everybody and everything in her life that had led to
Actually, yes, I did read that. That was it came out as a trade. I don't know if and I think we did the trade as a book, and was it set in Spain? Is that the one?
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was.
Sorry, sorry to interrupt you. I have read that. Yes, I do
No,
know
yeah,
exactly who that is. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So he also wrote These Savage Shores, which was a sellout. And he does bring in the Indian mythology a little bit, and he kind of weaves in that spiritual Hindu. He puts it into the stories really well to give the characters depth. But in this, what he's done is he's actually taken a demon, Rakshasa, from Indian mythology, who is a demon who is gluttonous. And he's living amongst us, and his idol was Anthony Bourdain. And so he decides after Anthony Bourdain's death that he is going to travel around India and experience food. And he's hired Mo to video the adventures. And so the book is it's going to be full of all the recipes and things from the Indian flavors of the different parts of India. And you move out of one part of India into another, and the food is like you're in a completely different country. It's completely different flavors and tastes. And it really caught me. I love the art that Philippe Andrade brings to it. It's almost like I felt like I could hang panels on the wall. It's very European. There's depth to every panel. And at times it looks like you're looking at images of old Indian paper, like old Indian paintings on parchment, with the lines and the scratchiness in it. And I loved that. Where this will go, I think, is that this gluttonous demon is going to be nefarious. There's going to be things happening that are not in the best interests of Mo or any humans around them. And there are other demons that want to see him gone. So there's going to be layers to this. And I'm really excited about it. Did you read Way of the House Husband?
Yes.
The manga?
Yes.
Yeah. And so there was a live, I was going to say action, but it wasn't really action, a live one called Ingenuity of the House Husband. And each episode was like 5-10 minutes long. And there was one whole episode dedicated to making coffee. And one was dedicated to doing the laundry. And I watched these and I was just like, I had no idea that's how you get stains out of a shirt, like things like this. And that's how you make a coffee. My gosh. And I just feel like this is going to do that for me. It's going to give me depth to the food that we can eat. And I might follow some of the recipes. And it's just really an homage to Anthony Bourdain as well.
Don't follow the recipes to the T in the book, though, Sue.
Oh, why is that?
Well, I don't know if we're going to give too much away, but how does he ingest the recipes in the end?
Yeah, I know. We can't give too much away. I'm so bad at giving spoilers in these podcasts.
Yeah, so I mean, I thought that was a nice little twist because you were waiting for something. I'm like, this is because there's another couple of Indian characters. I don't know if they're gods because I don't know their mythology well enough, but from their mythology, who were watching this and know that they have to stop him. So there's those going on as well, right? So there's it's going to come to a head at some point, but this very much set the scene. And some of the dialogue was very, very clever and really well done. Really
look, I love the way Ram writes. I get lost in it. It's not poetry, but it's quotable, some of it.
Rare Flavours through Boom, Ram V, Philippe Andrade, great read, and something a little bit different. If you like, actually, you know what? If you were a fan of the movie Seven, you might enjoy this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you read Hungry Ghosts or Eat the Rich, the comics, there's
a bit in there, but it is very much like there's no guys wearing their underpants outside their jeans swinging from balconies or anything like that, but there is a lot of other clever stuff going on.
I was going to send the chai recipe to Stu from here because he's in India, right? And they have a person employed in the office in India who just makes the chai.
Cool.
I was gonna send him that recipe. Get off your butt and do it yourself, Stu.
Yeah, what are you up to, mate? What are you up to? So there you go. Rare Flavours from Boom. That is out now. All right, that gets us to book number 3. And so this is something we spoke about, was on the first or second pod that we did together, which is Wonder Woman. Now, I remember you saying that Wonder Woman had gone places you didn't think it should have gone, or maybe wasn't particularly popular, but you had one customer who continued to buy it no matter what happened, because he was like, one day they'll get it right. I think, and I don't know this customer, but I think in Tom King, who did such a good job with Batman for so long, DC have put this in the right hands, because I only read issue 1 and I went, wow, this is really, really, really good. I'm really invested. I want book 2.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it, and it's been a long time since I've liked a Wonder Woman comic. My beef was with when DC did New 52. It felt like the misogyny and the harassment that was going on in the DC offices. Brian Azzarello was writing Wonder Woman at the time, and the answer to what was going on in the real world was to isolate all the male writers. And so Brian Azzarello was writing Wonder Woman with no female influence or people around her. And it really reflected in how he wrote Wonder Woman. And I just cannot believe they didn't understand. Wonder Woman, her power is that she has no patriarchal ties. And New 52, under his stewardship, suddenly made her the daughter of Zeus, and she had patriarchal ties, and there was all the power was gone. The whole point of Wonder Woman kind of dissipated, and she became this warrior woman, and that's what we saw in the movies, which I also hated. And so now, wow, I read this thinking I'm going to hate it. I'm so upset with Wonder Woman. And so when I read the first fight scene where I just read it as Wonder Woman, I didn't even look at the hair color to say, why has she got blonde hair? Because she should be brunette. I just saw that as Wonder Woman killing all these men. And I just thought, oh, am I even going to finish this? And then you read on, and then the scene where Wonder Woman came into the action, and all she used was her lasso of truth, and she didn't kill anyone, and her power was with the submissiveness. And I thought, you've nailed it. I was so excited. I have to thank, there's more than one customer who has been buying Wonder Woman, even though they haven't been enjoying it. And I'm going to have to thank them personally for keeping Wonder Woman in writing.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it's a really, really good book. And, I mentioned Tom King had such a great run with Batman, and it feels like he's brought that kind of energy to this. It's drawn in, like, the art style is great. I love the art style as well, but it's
isn't it gorgeous?
Yeah, but it's certainly not Frank Cho, is it? I mean, it's certainly Wonder Woman is, yes, she's a woman, but she is just a badass who can kick ass.
Is that a little dig at Frank Cho?
Possibly.
You and Stu had a little conversation about it.
We did a while ago, and since then, because I followed a bunch of artists when I started doing this, just so I could keep up with what was going on and who was doing what. And I saw him doing some parody stuff, and I thought, oh, that's quite clever. But the more you looked at it, the more it was only clever one way, if you like.
There's some creators, little old Stewie, he's becoming so, I'm not going to say woke, but he's so aware now of liking comics that are representative of people for their greatest abilities rather than sexual assets. And Frank Cho. I like that. I'm going to use that. Yeah, this art is, it's just exquisite. Who's doing it? It's
Daniel Sampier.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the fantastic artwork. It's bold. It's really, really clear. I like it. Some of the close-up panels are great. I mean, there's a picture in one of the panels where Wonder Woman catches a guy's fist and she's about to crush it, and just the look in her eye, he's captured it beautifully. Like, it's the kind of look that you would see in the face of somebody that you just don't want to fuck with and that you've annoyed. He's captured that really well. There's none of the overt femininity for just because she's a woman. She's as much of a badass as anybody else is, and I really like the way they've done that.
Yeah. So, I mean, the premise of the comics is that humans have decided that they don't like the Themyscrians wandering amongst them, and they are reflecting onto the Themyscrians at how we behave, which is they're only here to take us over and direct our actions, and we don't want them here. And so Wonder Woman has to come to the forefront to smooth things over and not have them all immigrants, not have them all ejected from America.
Yeah, and I think what Tom King's done there is a bit of social commentary as well.
Yes.
You know, it's one person has done something. They've gone. You'd probably say they've gone over the top, right? Yeah, right. They've gone over the top.
Yeah.
But with one person's actions, they've damned a whole people. And I
Yeah.
think we've seen enough of that, not just in America, but obviously that's the obvious starting point. That to know that that's not how it plays out, but that continues to happen.
Yeah. So I definitely read this as an immigrant social commentary on immigrants. I also read it as social commentary on the Me Too movement, where in the opening scenes, this woman has just murdered all these men because one dared to speak to her. And then another woman is having to come in, Wonder Woman is having to come in and smooth that all over. So there was social commentary on so many levels in this for me. There was the political pull apart as well, and where the power lies. It was really interesting.
Yeah,
you know?
it's a great start to a storyline and introduces as well right at the end, you know, the power behind it all, which I thought was really sinister and really well done.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not going to give too much away, but get it. You'll love it. It's Tom King. He's done a great job.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Book one is superb. And you get a bonus too, don't you, Sue, as well?
Yes.
At the back of book one, you get a little preview. There's a new 7-issue series out this month called Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong. And you get a few panes of that at the back as well, which looks quite cool.
And look, there's 2 covers coming out, and they're raw covers. So you can hear Godzilla roar on one, or you can hear Kong roar on the other. And Stu and I are just wetting our pants. He's so excited about it. I can't wait for it to come out.
That is outstanding. That is outstanding. I did see somewhere, and I'm trying to remember where it was, that they were talking about dinosaurs. And I know Godzilla's not, well, he's kind of a dinosaur, right? But but they've basically done the breakdown of, you know, if they evolved from birds, or if birds evolved from them, and what their makeup was, that they actually couldn't roar. Dinosaurs, they would make this other noise, which is kind of, I don't want to say it's a squawk, because it's more than a squawk, but it's
would he have feathers too?
Yeah, potentially, yeah, but it'd be higher pitched. It would be less of a roar and more of I guess, a screech or a squeal.
But it's a whole kind of fire thing that's coming out, right?
Yeah, but it's also Godzilla doesn't really exist, so they can do what they like.
Well, I beg your pardon. What? He is the protector of Earth, and and we feel like sometimes he's protecting us, but he's not. He's just protecting Earth. We're just, a byproduct.
There you go. So was it his fault in Hawaii?
So
was
excited.
it?
I'm so excited.
There we go.
We will be reviewing that one when it comes out.
Yeah, well, it's out this month, right? So do you know what date that gets dropped?
I should know the date. Oh my god, it is written in my diary.
Okay,
with the red love hearts around it.
Sweet. All right. That's when it's coming out, people. That's when it's coming out. All right. Time to get to this. And this has been my highlight of the week's reading so far. The Miranda Brothers, We Live is What Do You Mean You Haven't Read This? This is through Aftershock. And wow, what a story. Man, this is a great story.
I know. The Miranda Brothers, so the 2 brothers are very, very different. And they have different takes on all the ideas in the narration, but because they grew up together, watched the same games, the same video games, and they shared the toys and everything, you really felt like they nailed the 2 main characters, a brother and sister who are quite young, and there was a depth to this story that it was just, I loved it. It's a dystopian world where we've had catastrophic climate events happen, and there are not very many humans left alive. Some benevolent alien in the cosmos has contacted us to say that there is about to be another cataclysmic event, and it's going to be an extinction event. So they have sent 5,000 bracelets to Earth for children, and they have to wear these bracelets if they find them and get to an evacuation point. And the 2 characters, that's what they're doing. So Tala and her younger brother Hoto. But in the journey, there's a lot of other characters who come in, and I think, is it Hoto or Humbo? Is another young kid who's going to the extraction point as well, and he is my favorite character.
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
Just the teched up. He can make anything work. He can create anything, and his origin just comes through a little bit in memories. But I want to see a full-on story about him.
Yeah, no, he's great. And the thing with this is, I went, okay, this is a great story. I'm really enjoying this, but I know where it's going. And then just before it gets to where you think it's going, it doesn't go there, it goes somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it does that about 3 times, I think, in book 1. And right at the end, it does it as well. And like I say, we don't want to give away spoilers because I don't want to ruin it for you. But man, it is a great read, and it goes somewhere that I didn't see it going. And I was like, wow, I have to have book 2 now.
Yeah. Do you know what I loved? Okay, so it's a dystopian world. Things have gone wrong. Nature is reclaiming all the buildings and everything. It is this bright, beautiful world with all these mutated beasts who could kill you at any time. But it's not your normal dystopian world. It kind of felt hopeful in a way until you got to the twists.
Yeah. Well, I think, it's a dystopian world in that it's dystopian for humanity, but for everybody else, it's probably actually quite good. Like for all the other critters on Earth that are still here and things like that. So I think that side of it is quite good. So I think they've done that really well. And also, and this isn't giving too much away, but if you're a fan of The Last of Us, you might enjoy this because the molders are what they're called, and they're people that are effectively not too different from the fungal infected type zombies that you see in The Last of Us.
Yeah. So even though this is a bright, beautiful world, the journey is so dark and twisted. And I don't know, it didn't really say how old Tala and her brother Hoto are. I placed Tala at about, 11, maybe 10, and I placed Hoto at about 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And it was just gorgeous, the innocence that she was able to keep for him in this journey through this death and gruesomeness, because he had that gaming headset. And so he'd wear the headset and it would change what he was seeing to be like a game. And so the characters, the art style changed when it was his view, and they were these really comic-y kind of almost manga-ish characters. And then the reality in the outside scene is just beautifully, gorgeously colourful, but very, very dangerous. And so there were also really dark scenes where Hoto went into an abandoned house and opened the door and didn't see into the house, and Tala pulled him out, and then they show you the scene behind the door, and it's a hanged man who's committed suicide. And so the darkness was always there throughout it, but there was the innocence in it in the way they were protecting Hoto.
Yeah, and the way she explained it to him as well. She said, see the crosses out in the yard? People do that when they've left their house.
Yeah.
When they've abandoned their home. That was kind of how she explained it to him. So I told him without telling him. I thought that was quite clever, because I had read it and then gone back and reread it and didn't pick it up initially. And then I was like, that's really clever. That's really well done. It's really good storytelling. The other thing is too, you talk about how bright and beautiful and everything it is, but then you get to book 3 in this trade, and Dr. Zeus, and man, that shit gets dark real quick.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. And there's commentary going on about all sorts of things in this. And what you had in The Walking Dead, where everyone was out for themselves, and even when they banded together, you didn't know if they were going to be on your side or not when you needed them to be. And there was that element in this as well. And then they really exploited that at the end. And I just felt sick that I was part of humanity at some stages, that was in all of us to behave that way. And there were moments where I just felt really sad and had to put the book down, and then you'd pick it up again and the innocence of Hoto would just lift you. And I loved that. And also, did you scan the QR codes on the pages?
I didn't, no.
Okay. So there's about 4 or 5, I think, QR codes on some of the pages. And I really urge you to go back, Riccardo, and read this and scan the QR code. It takes you to a YouTube page where there's like a little short couple of minutes clip of music with an animation of the scene that you're looking at, but it's not a like total animation. It's like the first one is the old man in the rocking chair just rocking backwards and forwards while the music's playing. And we've said this before, but if there is ever an audio cue in any of the books, just do it, people, just do it. It really, really puts you in the moment with the characters. Yeah, these guys are so talented. They've like expanded it in all sorts of different ways. I love it.
Fantastic story. We live, it is dystopian, but it is kind of, like Sue said, it is bright, it is colourful, the artwork's amazing. This story takes more twists and turns than, it's like there is stuff that you just don't see coming.
I think it's like it's been talked about as a cross between Miyazaki's Nausicaa and James Cameron's Avatar.
Oh yeah, there's some Avatar about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I because so there are a couple of things in it that I was like, like I said before, I thought I knew where it was going, and then it didn't go there. But I also thought I knew the tone of the story, but they changed the tone of the story as well. Like they went to some dark places that don't necessarily correlate to what you're reading initially. You're like, oh, fuck, I can't believe they're taking that there. Wow.
I know the fanaticism that came in at one point that was so detrimental to the survival of the species. I was just like, oh, that was a bit harsh, but yeah, I didn't expect that.
Yeah, it doesn't really tie into this, but it did make me laugh. I saw a meme today that had a picture of a guy holding a sign that just said, "Christian evangelists are just the Taliban with light beer and pork chops."
Oh,
it's like that's what those characters reminded me of.
I mean, it blows my mind when you have these dystopian stories and humanity struggling to survive, and we're not procreating and like we're coming to the end of the line, and yet we kill each other.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, go figure that one out for the intelligent species in inverted commas. Yeah, so great work from the Miranda Brothers. We love, well recommended.
Yeah.
So I'm not familiar with any of their other work. How much?
There's a follow-on from this called The Palladians. There's a volume 2, because what is the intent of the aliens? And of course they had to go on and they had to explore why they offering salvation to 5,000 children. Yeah.
Well, I'm always, I remember, how things stick with you, that you some things just stick with you. And I remember being, maybe 16 or something, and watching Tales from the Twilight Zone TV show. And there was one where the aliens came, and there's ships up all around the world, all over the capital cities, and they're like, we're disappointed in you. What have you done? We're your creators, and you failed. And so all the world leaders go, shit. All of a sudden, UN type organization has a big meeting. They sign all these fucking peace treaties. They're going to destroy all their nukes. We can coexist. It's okay. And so you get through it all, and you think, they've saved humanity. And then it turns out, no, the aliens are some sort of warlord, and they created humanity to create more weapons, and the nukes weren't good enough. So that's what they were disappointed about. Ooh. And so they destroy us anyway. So when you were talking about what's the aliens, what is the reason for them giving this so they could save humanity? That's the kind of thing that pops into my head. I don't know if that's where they're going to take it or not.
No. Well, yeah, I haven't actually read the second volume. I missed out on it in single issues, so I haven't read that yet. But I will be getting that in to read, because this is just, it's just beautiful. And you've got to go back and read it scan the QR codes.
We'll do. Yeah. Definitely do that. All right, so I think that's us for episode 56, mate. You got everything out you needed to get out?
Yeah.
Oh, we should welcome on board the Starship Heroes for Sale.
Yes.
a new red shirt.
Yeah, no, he's not a red shirt. Oh my god!
Hopefully, he lasts longer than the average red shirt.
Joe used to work for us up on K Road for a little while, and has been in and out, and he's just amazing. His comic knowledge is encyclopedic. He's just read everything, and in superheroes, Marvel especially. And I'm so excited to have him. He's here on Saturdays and Sundays, and just such a lovely guy.
Awesome. Yeah. There you go. Pop into Heroes in Newmarket there down Rollside Avenue and say hello to Joe on the weekends.
Yeah, on the weekends.